E aí galera, beleza? Aqui é o Auro, como vocês estão? Espero que bem. E hoje eu tô trazendo pra vocês mais um vídeo sobre Beast of Reincarnation, pra gente ver aqui junto, pra ver se talvez eu decida jogar esse jogo ou não. Vai sair no Game Pass, pelo que eu vi. E tô vendo aqui a preview final da IGN aqui. Vamos ver como é que vai ser, porque se eles falarem coisas boas, talvez eu jogo, como vai ter no Game Pass, né? Vamos ver. Vamos ver juntos aqui.
It's 2,000 years into the future with barely any semblance of humanity other than the robots they created and perhaps a few survivors who've scraped by in a post-apocalypse. A blight has swept the overgrown land and living creatures have gone feral with a zombie-like virus where tree roots sprout from their bodies and make them hostile. But Emma, she's a little different. She's the protagonist in Beast of Reincarnation and is able to wield this virus as a superpower where her hair can create platforms to jump off, boost her into the air, and attack her enemies.
É o cabelo dela que cria?
And with her rescued pet wolf Ku, you have a Final Fantasy VII Remake-like RPG element to complement the fast Sekiro-esque action. What this all told me in the hour-and-a-half long demo I played is that developer Game Freak is shooting for something bigger, more ambitious, and simply different from anything it's previously made. It's drawing from several games we've seen before and piecing them together in its own way while setting up a story that touches on embracing our humanity. And now that I've played it, Beast of Reincarnation feels like Game Freak's best opportunity to break out of Pokémon's shadow.
Caralho, sombra do Pokémon? Eles fazem Pokémon e eu não tô sabendo? Bom, não sei. Pokémon é da Nintendo, né?
The story starts off with a bang, establishing its science fantasy contrast as Emma vows to protect a little girl named Kagura who's recovering in their de facto headquarters, which is an AT-AT looking walker. She jumps out donning her samurai
Nossa, parece
sword and
muito
her
Star Wars, vai. Esse robô aí.
Precious boy Ku follows her, all while an orchestral tune with dramatic choir vocals build an atmosphere that veers so close to Nier Automata that I couldn't shake the comparison. In similar fashion to the Yoko Taro classic, you're dropped into a war zone as the tutorial mission. Missiles drop from the sky, blighted creatures are on the attack, and robots fight alongside you as you learn how Beast of Reincarnation's fast-paced action works. Timing parries and Emma's fancy blade art special attacks, along with commanding Ku as if he was a Pokemon himself, I quickly saw how this game's combat system is both easy to pick up and incredibly fun to engage with. Once a tutorial ends, a cutscene drops some lore that hints at how humanity destroyed its own world, and the broken machines you see rusting away in the overgrown environment are the results of its own corruption. But there's hope in a place called Oguchi, which is where Emma is headed as you're dropped into the first open region. This isn't necessarily an open world game, but the folks from publisher Fictions explained to me that there are several open regions that you'll explore as the story goes on. They aren't exactly interconnected, and the story will push you through these regions with little opportunity to return once you're past them, giving the impression that it's going to be a little bit more straightforward than its map would imply. It's estimated to be about 30 to 40 hours for an earnest full playthrough, so it doesn't appear that this format limits its scope. While you won't be racking up side quests to
Caralho, o jogo é grandinho.
it's not that kind of game, there's still a lot to find off the beaten path with gear and upgrade materials, but for the most part, I stuck to the main quest to see as much of this story as I could and really test its combat system. Normal enemies didn't give me much trouble since parry timing is quite generous. Even as it evokes the pacing and rhythm of a Sekiro or Nioh, it won't be nearly as hard, at least that's my initial impression. Still, recognizing attack patterns and knowing when to dodge or to be aggressive with parries are key to controlling Emma and creating windows for blade arts or gruesome finishers. And thankfully, the controls are swift and responsive as any decent action game requires.
Cara, me interessou mais, tá, esse jogo, esse gameplay que tá tendo aí.
Ku is a vital part of the mix, and he's how this game leans into the RPG realm a bit more. Time stops when you pull up his command menu, giving you a chance to be more tactical and cast spells that can complement Emma's melee prowess. Ku's spellcasting works similar to FF7 Remake.
Será que vai dar pra montar no lobo pra sair correndo mais rápido?
Points during the action to then spend on casting his abilities, and when you do, there's a little QTE prompt to amplify his effectiveness. In the demo, I could have him cast fireballs and inflict burn status, sprout a tree for me to launch up to, or blast tree roots to bind multiple enemies at once. Weaving these in like they're part of an attack rotation showed me that there's potential depth to Beast of Reincarnation outside of playing it straight like a tough action game. There's a lot to dig into with the skill trees for both Emma and Ku, and since they share the same pool of skill points, I suspect there'll be a sense of build crafting, or at least ways to emphasize the parts of combat you like most. The Fiction's rep explained to me that progression was built in a way that would support a Ku-centric playstyle for those who aren't as in tune with action combat.
Tem duas árvores de habilidade, dela e do lobo, né?
Good mix of both, since I think they
da Emma e do... esqueci o nome do lobo, velho.
Especially in challenging boss fights where difficulty seems to ramp up. The big boss battle in this demo was against a monstrous stag, and it's in this fight where Beast of Reincarnation's systems started to interlock clearly. It was hanging out in a river basin below, so I used Emma's hair as a platform to get the jump on it with a leaping aerial strike to start the battle with the upper hand.
Tirou um dano legal, hein, véi?
My primary plan of attack was to nail down the parry timing of its antler swings and read its animations carefully.
Ó, o cachorro toma dano, o lobo. Será que tem como recuperar a vida dele?
Simultaneously,
se ele morrer, alguma coisa assim.
Bind it for a brief moment so I could get a few more swings in, or help me chip away at its health with fireballs. This boss is also physically towering, and sometimes the camera has trouble locking onto a much bigger target, especially when backed into a corner. So having Ku's tree sprout up
todo jogo tem Loki, inimigos gigantescos são horríveis com o Loki, né, velho? Fica muito ruim, velho. Tem um arco também legal.
So based on what I've played so far, I think Beast of Reincarnation blends its traversal mechanics, RPG elements, and hard action foundation into a singular flowing combat system. And while I don't think any one of those parts are particularly outstanding on their own, it's the smart confluence of all three that make it stand out in a sea of Souls-ish action games that try drawing from the same core design principles. What I'm looking forward to now is how it's going to evolve as the story goes on, and how boss fights further along will challenge me in increasingly interesting ways. However, it's not necessarily the action that's going to completely win me over with Beast of Reincarnation. This is also Game Freak's chance to show its chops as storytellers. Say what you want about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but seldom
eles já fizeram Pokémon, né?
Story to completely unpredictable heights in its final hours like that. Of course, different folks work on various projects within development studios, but it tells me that Game Freak has that potential within. The last few moments of my demo took me to a flashback sequence where Emma was held captive by one of the more sophisticated robots. It's established here that Emma is also seen as a malefact, given her Blightborn powers with her hair that can be wielded like tree roots. She's told she has, quote, no heart, no humanity, no pity for your fellow malefacts, to which she replies, quote, what's pity? Only to be left with, quote, your appearance is the only reminder you were human. And I believe the implication from this cutscene is that Emma is being used as a weapon against the Blight, coerced by the humanoid robots to destroy the very thing that made her. Emma has a ghostly little girl named Violet by her side who keeps her grounded, saying, quote, empathy isn't beyond you, Emma. I'm sure the day will come when you will understand. This push and pull on finding humanity in someone who seems devoid of emotion is pretty standard storytelling material, but when done well, it could still hit deep. The cutscenes feel a little stilted with limited animation, but that's where the writing needs to do the heavy lifting. And when you have a precious boy like Ku as a pet who's experiencing the same struggle of being Blightborn, it's easy to see how Beast of Reincarnation could be tugging on my heartstrings. I could draw a ton of comparisons to other games I've played, like Stellar Blade or Ghost of
Stellar Blade, aquele começo mesmo lá. Parece muito Stellar Blade, mano. Aquele começo que você começa correndo, com um monte de coisa caindo e uns robôs te atacando. É o tutorial, né?
A blight taking over the land caused by humanity's ignorance and abuse as a warrior girl and her wolf companion fight to survive the incursion, and tucked within that, messages about the importance of preserving your world. I'm just theory crafting at this point, but the twists and turns we've come to expect from these kinds of stories already has me invested in the conflict Emma is caught between with what seems to be a world itself rebelling against civilization. From so many aspects, I see touches of my favorite things reflected in Beast of Reincarnation, and that has me excited to see what it does with this foundation. Surprisingly though, director and writer Koto Furushima mentioned to me in a conversation that his biggest influence has been Blade Runner. In creating a new science fantasy world, Furushima said that he wanted to tap into how technological creations have dwarfed the very people who made them. He also said that while very different aesthetically, the vision of a retro-futurist dystopia stuck with him and he wanted to write his own version of that kind of story. I'm aware that Game Freak has made games outside its long history with Pokemon, like Giga Wrecker and Little Town Hero, but Beast of Reincarnation is on a different scale. It's been in development for about 5 or 6 years, born out of an incubation effort for ideas to help the studio branch out and try new things, and I'm glad we won't have to wait long to see how it comes together in full, since it launches on August 4th for PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. For more on action RPGs coming later this year, check out our exclusive coverage of The Blood of Dawnwalker, and for everything else in the world of games, stick with IGN.
Aí. Mano, cara, me interessou bem mais, tá? Esse trailer, mas não é trailer, na verdade, é porque ele colocou muitas cenas ali que eu não tinha visto, né? Mas esse review me interessou mais depois de ver esses combates ali. Parece que me interessou mais. Talvez eu jogue, mano, no Game Pass e gravo pra vocês. Ainda mais que vai vir no Game Pass, acho que vale a pena testar. Vamos ver. Me interessou bastante agora esse jogo, viu, cara? Fiquei interessante. Eu achei interessante pra caralho. Mas vamos ver aí. Talvez eu traga pra vocês no Game Pass, porque no Game Pass fica mais fácil. A gente assina ali um mêsinho só pra jogar, igual eu fiz com Assassin's Creed no Ubisoft Plus. E é isso. Espero ter gostado do vídeo. Deixa aí sua opinião, se você vai querer jogar esse jogo ou não. Se você achou interessante ou não, se você vai pular, como é que vai ser? Porque tem muito jogo vindo em setembro, né? Mas agosto, até agora, tem 2 jogos que eu quero muito jogar. Quer dizer, tem um jogo que eu quero muito jogar, que é Mortal Shell 2. E tem esse jogo que me interessou e talvez eu jogue. Então é isso, espero que tenham gostado do vídeo. Se gostou, deixa o like, comente, compartilha, se inscreva no canal. Tamo juntos, fiquem com Deus e